Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Seize Your Business. I'm Jim Waszak, and this is Kevin O'Flaherty, my co-host.
Hello.
And today we have Kim Bukovsky talking to us from Riviera Finance. Welcome,
Hello,
Kim.
hi. Thank you.
And before we officially start, I did want to mention to all our viewers and listeners that if you have somebody or if you yourself would like to be on our show, please give me a call, and we'll talk about making that happen. You can reach me at 630-272-3895.
Great.
So our topic today is going to be factoring, which is an alternative way to get financing for your business. And Kim's going to explain what factoring is and how you can use it to get funds for your business.
Now, why don't we
Correct.
start with that? Give us a brief overview of what is factoring.
What is factoring?
Exactly.
Well, factoring comes from the olden days of giving you a sale discount of an invoice. So a business owner that has an invoice or a bill of sale and they need the cash advance or some type of, working capital, it's an option for the business owner. So we discount the invoice and give them a cash advance. Invoice factoring, it's called.
Okay.
So you need an actual invoice and a bill of sale.
Okay.
So this only works in like particular industries, right?
Correct. Yes, that is correct.
So I can't just. It's not me selling you all of my accounts receivable for like a law office that has $100,000 in accounts receivable. It would be different for me to say, okay, give me 50 cents on the dollar and you can collect these.
Right. Again, invoice factoring is business-to-business transaction. So you're a business owner, you're dealing with another business, and we're offering that discount for that invoice. We have done law firms before, but they have to invoice another business.
Okay.
So if you're large enough and you're invoicing per month and you're going out to that another law firm and they're taking 30, 45, 60 days to get paid, we're able to give you that cash advance.
So what sort of qualification do you do on this to find out if it's a good invoice or a bad invoice?
Yeah. So the qualification would be based on your customer's credit. So you are a business owner, you could be in business started for 10 years or you could be a new business started yesterday. So if you're a new business owner or an established business and you have a customer, we rely heavily on the customer's credit. So we determine if we're going to purchase that invoice based on who your customer is.
Is there like a dollar amount that is too low for you guys to work with?
That's a great question. So again, small businesses, they consider small businesses, a little bit of fact is any type, for the SBA, the Small Business Administration considers a small business is $7 million and under. That's a large business to me.
Okay.
So we would definitely work with 1 to 2 million facilities as a small business. 7 million, that seems like a pretty decent business. We like to see the small business owners, 5 to 6 employees, or maybe just a single owner who's got a product, a service, who needs additional cash flow, or has gone to a bank and they can't get that traditional financing. They're too new, they're a little maybe distressed, and invoice factoring is an option for them.
So if somebody's been turned down by a bank, then that might be worth making a call to somebody like yourself.
Absolutely. So either the banks, I think the banks are lending these days, and they're still a little strict on the requirements. So again, these business owners are going into a bank, they're getting that, they can't get that bank line of credit. And so instead they have to kind of turn to alternative financing. There's many alternative types of financing for the small business owner. We're just one type, which is the factoring.
So does it matter if, let's assume my customer has acceptable credit, does it make much of a difference if I have $10 invoices or $10,000 invoices?
That's a great question. So again, we're an account management company as well. So you've got thousands of invoices at $10 each or 2 invoices at $10,000 each. We're willing to take on that approval based on who your customer is.
And then who actually, let's say that the customer for whatever reason happens to run a little late, who takes that on? Do you do that on
Yep.
behalf, or do we do it, or?
Yeah, it's part of our program and process. So we buy the invoice, we give you that cash advance. And then we have a system which is online account management. And so we also become your collections, account management, account status. And if something happens where that customer goes out of business, we still take on that.
So once I've gotten the money from you for the invoice, it doesn't really matter to me anymore whether it's collected. That's on you, and if it's
Correct.
not collected, you're bearing the risk of that.
Correct, yeah, we take on that credit risk.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess other than from the standpoint that if your customers keep not paying them, they're eventually going
We're
to
gonna
stop buying your
correct.
invoices. at some
We're-
point.
Exactly.
See, one thing you learn about Kevin and I, we are more than just a couple of pretty faces. There is actually
I hear that all the
some
time.
brain power going on here.
Fair
Well,
enough.
okay, so I'm sure there's probably some business owners out there that says, wow, that sounds too good to be true, and usually things that sound too good to be true are in some way. Is there a downside or a risk or a cost to factoring that might discourage a business owner?
I think so too. Yeah. So factoring again is a traditional way of invoicing or of alternative financing. I really encourage the small business owner to get the traditional bank financing. That would be ideal. It's less expensive. It's more beneficial to their working capital. Factoring's an option. A typical life of a factor of our business is usually about 3 years. We have people that stay with us for 6 months to kind of get their cash flow going, or they can stay 10, 20, 30 years doing it. The downside would definitely be probably the cost. It's more expensive than the traditional bank line of credit. The paperwork, you really have to have your paperwork in order, proof of service, contracts, all your paperwork of invoicing. We're trying to get everything online. But other than that, it's a great option. We do file a UCC filing for first position, and we only take the accounts receivables as collateral.
And do we, or what is the cost actually?
It just depends. A lot of the industries, I think, Kevin, you asked before, we do a lot of transportation, we do staffing, janitorial, any type of service, manufacturing. And so those types of companies or industries have certain types of customers. So, to answer your question, the price could be anywhere from a 90, maybe 95 advance on that receivable, and then the factoring fee is anywhere from 2% to 5%.
So I've got an invoice for $100, and you're gonna buy it for $95 less a couple percent. So
Yep.
I might get 93% of my receivable.
Correct, and that's it, and that's the transaction.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask this question. So let's say I'm a smaller business, as we've discussed, and I get an order from a solid, credit-worthy company for $100,000 of stuff. Now, I'd love to take that order, but before I can handle that order, I gotta find financing for the $75,000 that I have to buy before I can.
Right.
Is there a way that would a PO that you can still do something, or is that just out of the question?
There's
at that
many
point?
different alternative financing companies. That's called purchase order financing.
Okay.
Riviera Finance actually only does the traditional invoice factoring,
Okay.
but there's many companies out there that you've got a business, you've got a product, you've got a service, and now you've got a purchase order to place these orders. There's financing available for that. We don't do that, but there's financing available. And then, so now you've got the money to make that order complete, and now you ship it, you install it, you send it out, and then you invoice it, and then you come back to us for the invoice factory.
Got it.
So are you a good solution? You say sometimes people stay with you for 3 to 20 years, probably in rare circumstances, but is that a situation where someone just doesn't want to have an in-house collection department or send it to collections, and they work all with only businesses, and you're just going to be the person, whenever they generate an invoice, it goes to you,
Right.
and then you collect what you can on it, and they
Absolutely.
get paid right away?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, you're a small business owner, you've got 2 or 3 businesses, you're growing, you've got this, you're not qualified for the bank financing yet. Where do you get your cash flow? Well, instead of hiring an accounts receivable department, accounts payable department, you're going to hire a company or outsource a company like us to handle those receivables, and then do the collecting, do the follow-up, do the invoicing, the billing, all that. Additional back office support, we call it.
So what's you mentioned the size of the company that you're working with, but what's the dollar amount of total invoices where it starts to make sense to go through all the paperwork and, because I assume if I've got a $3,000 invoice,
Right.
I'm probably not going to want to run through that rigmarole.
Yeah,
What do you see people actually having it make sense?
Well, these days, like I'd say 10, 20 years ago, it used to be $10,000, $20,000, $500,000 of receivables. But lately, people are calling for the $5,000 and the $10,000. It's a lot of paperwork. Or it's a lot of we have underwriters, we have verification. We have an entire office that's, has to support that one invoice. So you're right, for a 3,000 invoice, you're going to, we'd like to see it grow or maybe more business, but we'll take on anything. I mean, nothing under about 5,000.
Does the percentage that I get paid as a business owner vary based on the volume I'm doing with you, or the length of time that the invoice is past due, or the creditworthiness of the person that is...
All of the above, yes, yeah. So there's a program for monthly volume, there's a program for how quick it gets paid, there's a program for who your customers are, all of the above, absolutely. So we'll take into account, and that's why I like to, with any small business, you want to meet with them, and you guys know, you want to meet with the business owners, see what their business is about, see if it's a good fit for alternative financing, because we are a little bit on the high end. And then, there's times where I'm like, you be qualified for bank financing, you're qualified for this type of financing, you're qualified for this. So I really sit and work with the business owner, determine what's a good fit for them, and if they're fit for factoring, they're a good fit.
Yeah, but let me get back to Kevin's question, because that made me think of a question. So it would seem to me there's two possible scenarios. One is that I have this unusual order, maybe all my orders are $500 and this one's $10,000, so I could ask you to just look at that one invoice, but I think the more likely would be, once I've set up the relationship,
right,
then I could just send you,
correct,
whichever ones I feel I
yes,
need to send you.
Absolutely. Yeah, it works for certain industries, it works for certain businesses, it really works for the growing business. So you're right, so you're one single business owner and all of a sudden you got all these orders in. You do need a company, or you need someone that you're going to hire. And what better way to get the cash advance, have the back office support, and that's what you're paying for. Mm-hmm. And the credit checks. We're also credit checking all your new customers, all your existing customers. So we're actually a resource.
I could ask you to, hey, I'm thinking of doing business with ABC company. Can you check them out? Then you would. Is that a separate charge for that?
Nope,
is that just part
it's all
of
included.
Okay,
yeah.
so you kind of offer like free credit services.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And again, a lot of different companies are different. Riviera started in 1969, been in Oak Brook since 1979, and now there's like a lot all over the place because everyone's kind of lending money or coming up with alternative ways to, support the business owner. And I really feel we're the traditional back office support, providing as much information as we can to the business to make them successful. And then we don't mind if they leave us and they've grown and they've gone to the bank and they've become this, successful small business. It's great. We see a lot of e-commerce lately, a lot of internet.
So there's probably somebody out there thinking, hey, you know what? I've got this invoice from Joe Dokes and he hasn't paid me 60 days. Hey, I could just sell it for 95%. Sounds like a good deal. There's probably some amount of time that is like a limitation on how late they can wait to give you an invoice, or not really?
Yes and no. We don't like 90-day paper, but we'll buy 60-day paper.
Okay.
We're not here to collect on your bad debt.
Right.
We're here to manage your account receivables and offer the cash flow solution to your growing business. Yeah, and that's how you have to look at it. I think in the years in the 70s and 80s it was, okay, Joe Schmo didn't pay me, I need someone to collect. But there's collection agencies for that.
Yeah.
Or there's other people, everyone has a field that they're experts in, and we're experts in that one field.
So a typical, so it would seem to me that a better candidate for factoring would be somebody who has sort of regular customers that he's, as opposed to somebody who every sale is a one and done.
Right. Yes, and no. Yeah. I definitely get to know the business, get to know the one and dones are fine. I prefer someone ongoing. Or if somebody wants to leave the traditional bank financing, it's a great opportunity for them to pay off their bank line of credit and use factoring as again an alternative short-term or long-term option for them.
Before we move on, and I'm going to ask you, even though you don't do this type of alternative financing, just for like a bullet point overview of what other types of alternative financing are out there. But before we move on to that, what else do people need to know about factoring? Or is there anything else you want to share about that?
Yeah, that's a great. Yeah, thanks, Kevin. So a lot of people think you have to be in business a long time. You don't. To factor your invoice again, you just have to have completed work. Your invoice has to has to be true and accurate. So again, if you want to start a business last week and you want to factor, a lot of people ask me that, oh, I have to be in business 2 years. That's traditional bank financing.
Because it's not your credit that matters.
Yeah,
Right,
it's the
right.
customers.
If your customer has been in business if your customer has not been in business a long time, they're probably not approved for our program. Business to business, it only has your business. You have to do business to business, not business to consumer.
Are there people out there that do business to consumer type
Yeah.
of thing? There are. Is that something that you can refer to, or should people have to kind of find that out?
I think they have to find them now because you're collecting from a consumer. So a lot of roofing companies, a lot of construction companies, a lot of those type of service industries do B2C because they're collecting from the end user. Yeah, we don't want to deal with businesses, not people.
Sure.
People in business, I should say.
Yeah. So what else? Anything else you want to share about Factor?
No, I think a lot of people don't realize that's an option for them, and I've heard lately that people are going into these banks, and these banks, aren't lending, and I don't know. I think they're offering so many alternative sources. So again, we're just an option for the small business.
Well, I think the mistake that a lot of small business people make, or the mistaken notion that they operate under, is that a bank is a source of capital. It's not. It's a source of liquidity.
Correct.
So they're only going to lend when there's assets to support it.
Correct. Right. And the only asset that you need or that we require is the collateral is your receivable. So if you've got a good, sale, a good invoice, and you've got a good customer, it's a great option.
So I guess the other lesson for the entrepreneur and the small business owner is just keep pursuing a solution. You never know when you're going to find one that you didn't know existed.
Correct. Yeah.
So what are the real quick and dirty? Because I know this isn't what you do, but what's a brief overview of just the different flavors of other alternative financing?
So again, if you're a small business owner and you need some working capital, there's those cash advance, merchant cash advances. They give loans based on your bank accounts. There's micro lending, a handful of these micro lenders out there. There's an Axion in Chicago, tons of those micro
So
lending.
those lenders that'll lend at maybe a higher rate for a small loan that you wouldn't be able to get from a bank?
Right.
Okay.
And they're lending. So we don't lend you money, we give you cash for receivables. So those lenders are giving you money, but then you have to pay it back.
Mm-hmm.
So factoring, you never pay back. You never pay us back. We're giving you the cash, we just don't give you 100% of that.
Sure.
So I think it's really neat, and when I tell people it, they're like, oh, I said, you'll never ever pay me any money, and that's when I think it clicks, like, oh, I guess I can go to the micro lender, I guess I can go to these lending opportunities like the Cabbage, or I think you hear them on the radio, and they're loans, so loans you have to pay back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with factoring you never have to pay back.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for your time today.
Yes,
You're welcome.
thank you, Kim. And it sounds like it's a deep enough subject. If somebody needed to contact you, what's a good number or best way to reach you?
So I'm in the Oak Brook Terrace office. My number is 630-627-8750. I'm Kim at Riviera Finance.
Hey, Jim, how can people reach you?
You can call me at 630-272-3895. Any business improvement issues you want to discuss, or if you want to discuss how to use a little comedy to improve your business, let me know.
If you want to reach me at O'Flaherty Law, you can schedule a free consultation at 630-324-6666. You can go to seizeyourbusiness.com to check out more of our video blogs, podcasts, and some articles. And also, I do a legal podcast at learn-about-law.com. Thank you so much for being here.
Great.
Thank you.